Okay, welcome back to the garage. Um, it's really cold outside. I'll be the first person to tell you that. But tomorrow we're going to take the 360 up to the machine shop, so I got a few things I got to finish doing before I take it up to Matt. I'll clean off what's left of this oil pan gasket. I got to take the oil pump off. I'm going to take the oil filter adapter out, pull the crank out of it, pull the pistons out. Yeah, so we got a handful of things to do anyway. So what I'll probably start by doing is I'll take the oil pump off it, which should just be a cover, and then there should probably be 4 bolts on it if I remember right. Okay, with something resembling the right tool, I just crack them loose, and that's about as complicated as that gets. So overall, we're not really going to be doing anything particularly fancy with this engine. You know, the car it's going in is going to look pretty much stock. But it was originally a 225 slant 6 car. So I mean, even a stock 360 is a little more potent than what it had from the factory. Now, out of curiosity, you don't have to take the cover off to take it out. I just wanted to see what the oil was like inside here, which it's not super sludgy, but I can see that it's dirty. There's definitely dirty oil in there. Like I said, we're going to replace the oil pump anyway, because I don't know why you wouldn't replace an oil pump when you do an engine, right? That to me is just a no-brainer. Let's see if I can get this out of here. Okay, there's the shaft. The outside of it off. Oh yeah, look at that. So with that all cleaned off, you can see years and years of contamination have kind of scored the pump up. I'm sure the inner part of it's no better here. If we take a rag and wipe it off. It's actually got corrosion damage on the inside of it. That's what that galling's from. So, as you can see the heavy wear on it too. Debris has definitely been going around through it. Yeah, not in great shape. But, you know what? I expected nothing less. Just based on the condition of the rest of the engine, I wasn't really expecting us to find a super duper clean oil pump. Like I said, it's been about 3 years since I did one of these engines, so I can't remember what half the sizes are anymore. I'm sure if you did them every day, you probably would. So this pickup tube is garbage because it's for a rear sump truck pan. And it's all full of crap too. And obviously we're not going to reuse the oil pump. With any luck, it's going to come off nice and easy. That's with any luck. We don't have any luck. So, oh, look at that. Maybe we do have luck today. Kind of see some of the sludge and stuff that's stuck to it. It's too bad you couldn't smell it, because right now I can actually smell the oil, the old oil. So what I'll do is I'll grab a light so you can kind of get an idea of what you're seeing here, rather than just me talking about it. Apologize for my runny schnoz. It's a problem when it's minus 20 outside and 20 degrees inside here. So, inside our oil, as I trip over everything known to man. So hopefully, I'm kind of hoping the camera focuses enough to get in here. But you can kind of see, there you go. See the way it's all grooved and worn? That's from debris going through. And that's from the oil getting contaminated from, well, not being changed. So we're going to go ahead and replace that anyway. So that's not that big of a deal, really. I'll see if I can put this here. We'll just kind of get a little bit better view of it. Let me see. There we go. So basically, your oil pump, when it's driven, it uses the lubrication, of course, but that's how it works as it comes around here. Obviously, the engine does it a lot nicer than I do, but that's basically the idea. Except this section here would be fixed, and this would be the part rotating, like this. That's how the pressure is created. Anyway, enough horrible lessons from me. We're back to taking it apart. So what I'm going to do now, just before I get too carried away, I'm going to take and clean all this block off. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'll take the adapter off, and then I'll go ahead and mark all the rods. Oh, good. Problem with having a small garage. Well, I shouldn't say small, because it's not really a small garage. It's bigger than the average garage, I guess. It still never seems to be big enough. That's the only problem. But that's a problem that I think all car guys suffer from. We all suffer from not enough garage space. I don't care how big your garage is. That one's an inch, if you ever have to take one of these oil filter adapters off. Because I think to put this engine in an A body, we'll have to use a 90-degree adapter anyway. So I don't think this will work. I have to take it off anyway, one way or the other. Look at the sludge in there. It's solid. Why is it solid? Now, there's a little plug in here. I've seen guys forget to put these back in, and then they have some serious oil pressure loss. Like, serious oil pressure loss. That's something to keep in mind. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'll scrape this off. That's boring, nobody wants to watch that. And I'll mark the rods. And yeah. and then I'll show you when I start taking everything apart again. Okay, so I scraped off what was left of that gasket, and I went ahead and I stamped all of our rods. Hard to tell, but they're stamped too. There's a little 8 on those ones. Okay, so on a small block Dodge LA motor like this one, so on this bank of the engine, the firing order is 2, 4, 6, 8, and then obviously your remaining 1, 3, 5, 7 on that bank. So that's why I marked those the way I did. Ouch. And of course the reason we do that is so that the caps end up matched back up to the same rods and they go in the same spot again. One thing to note on these small blocks, and even if you have a big block and you put a windage tray, well, I shouldn't say that because a big block actually doesn't need these studs, it's just small blocks. Yeah, because a big block just uses the oil pan bolts to hold it on. Anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself here. You'll notice that on the 4th cap, main cap, and on the second main cap, there's these bolts with holes in them. They're a little taller, like they got a built-in spacer on them, and that's where the windage tray actually bolts onto. So I'll have to put those back on. I don't know why my camera doesn't want to focus, but welcome to the joys of technology. So what we can do now is actually unbolt the rods and start popping pistons out of it. They should come out not too bad. Oh, it's kind of got a shitty ridge. Well, you know what? They should come out one way or another. Might have to tap them a little bit, but they will come out. Worst comes to worst, we flip the motor back over, and I'll just take a stone hone and just knock the tops of the cylinders off so there's no ridge or rust for the rings to catch on. Okay, so here's the deal. For these clips, it's just easier for me to go ahead and speed them up so that we're not here all night watching me undo a couple of nuts and bolts. So at this point, with the engine flipped, oil pump out, oil filter adapter off and everything, we're ready to go ahead and remove the connecting rod bolts and caps. I've already marked my caps and pistons so that they're numbered and can go back together again. So at this point, that's what we're watching. Now once I have all of the connecting rod caps and bolts out, next thing I'll go ahead and do is remove the main caps, and the last thing I'll do is pop the pistons out, just because in this case we have such a bad ring ridge and as much corrosion as we do inside. Yeah, it's a little bit easier to pull the crank out first and then go ahead and gently tap the pistons out from underneath, because at this point we're not too worried about damaging the old pistons that are inside the block, because as you can probably tell by the condition of the block that you'll see later on in the video, we will not be reusing them. The engine will definitely have to be overboard. Anyway, I figured I would spare you from my ramblings and the boredom that this is. And I will show you all of the engine bearings later on. That was actually one of the better ones. Okay, so at this point it's all apart. Cranks out, main caps are back on because that's the way my machinist likes it. Cranks out. I'll pull the flex plate off it tomorrow morning when I go to load everything in the truck. And yeah, got all the pistons, all the bearings that came out of them. You can see this one especially. So what you see is there's actually 3 coatings. These are tri-metal bearings. So you see there's our, let me put this down so I get a pointing finger. Okay. So there's the first coating, or layer I should say, then the next layer, and then finally the last layer. So this managed to wear through all 3 of them. And there's a fair bit of scoring on some of the bearings and stuff. Just a bit of moisture contamination on this one. And these ones are scored pretty good. So we'll have to see what the machinist thinks we'll have to be doing with the crank. I'll get him to measure everything up too. I mean, I could do it, but he's going to do it anyway when I take the block to him, so there's no point, really. And there's no point in me taking the pistons with it because I don't know yet what we're going to be doing, so I might have to source pistons and rods, or I don't know yet. So at this point we're on sort of hiatus with it until we hear back from the machinist, because we won't know what size of bearings we'll need based on how much material will have to come off, both the block in the cylinder bores and our crankshaft. So we'll go ahead and we'll get that loaded and taken up tomorrow. Pick up another engine I have up there that's kind of a special project that will get its own video. So for now, I hope you enjoyed watching. At the end of the day, I do this for other people's entertainment, not mine. You know, I could hang out here and tear things down all day myself. But I know that some people don't necessarily maybe have the means or the space or the money or even the physical ability, and hopefully you get to live vicariously through what I'm up to. That's all I hope. Anyway, oh, I wanted to show you this too while I'm thinking about it. So this is the rear main oil pan seal, right? So this is supposed to be pliable, right? You know, it's the first thing it does is it cracks. Why? Because it's dried out and hardened. So I bet this thing was leaking pretty good too. And these are the actual rear main seal in the engine. Again, this is supposed to be pliable rubber. That's everything I have to be able to bend that. They are absolutely just rock solid, like so I'm sure there's a lot of things that'll get fixed. Well, it was a little worse off for wear than we had originally hoped for. But it's nothing that cannot be repaired. So we'll take it up to the machine shop and we will wait to hear how much we'll have to bore the block in order to clean up the cylinders. Hopefully you've enjoyed watching the teardown.